Canada almost revoked a woman's Canadian citizenship, a citizenship she has held since 2007, just because of information they found on her LinkedIn profile. But on January 3rd, 2026, it was reported that a court stepped in and stopped the revocation process. And this was not because the woman was able to prove her case or that the court found her innocent of the allegations that the IRCC was laying on her. No, the court stopped the revocation process because of how the IRCC handled the case. This case tells us a lot about how Canadian immigration and citizenship actually works, especially for those of us who think that once you've gotten your citizenship, you are not settled and your case file is closed forever. You can bin your documents, trash them, you don't need them again, declutter. So Nemeni Magdi Ibrahim became a Canadian permanent resident in the year 2003. And in 2007, she became a Canadian citizen. She built a life in Canada. She successfully obtained 2 pharmacist licenses, one in Manitoba and one in Ontario. She co-owned 2 pharmacies there in Ontario. She gave birth to a daughter who she raised in Canada. And she owned property there in Ontario. So by all normal definition, this is someone many people would see as fully settled. But in 2014, that's 7 years after she became a Canadian citizen, her file was flagged for investigation by the IRCC. And the investigation was completed that same year, 2014. Nobody contacted her, nobody told her anything. So in 2023, that's 9 years later, they reached out to her about the allegations. So the woman had to prove herself. That's 9 years after they first found out. That's when they now reach out to her. So according to the judge, in Magdi's citizenship application, she declared that she was absent from Canada for 166 days, which would be about 5 to 6 months. I don't know. And we all know that to be eligible for Canadian citizenship, you have to have spent 1,095 days, which is 3 years, within the 5 years which you had as a permanent resident just before you apply. So 5 years permanent resident, but 3 years of it spent in Canada. But the government did a gotcha on her. So according to her LinkedIn profile, the government found out that she was continuously employed from June 2002 to June 2009 as a medical delegate with Nestle Infant Nutrition in Kuwait. So the government claim was that she did not fulfill her residency obligations if she was employed from 2002 to 2009. But she said she was in Canada from 2003 to 2007, only absent for 166 days. So according to the government, she may not have met her residency obligation to qualify her for citizenship. Therefore, they wanted to revoke her citizenship. Now, they were not using LinkedIn casually. They were using it as their main proof to question whether she was physically in Canada during the period she said she was in Canada. Misrepresentation or lying on your citizenship application is one reason why your citizenship can be revoked as a naturalized citizen. But this wasn't about committing a crime, it was about misrepresentation. And the government main proof and evidence was her LinkedIn profile that stated that she was employed with Nestle from 2002 to 2009. Please let me know in the comments. How do you think the government go about determining whether or not someone is in the country for a period of time? Because I thought they will use entry and exit data to find out who entered, when they entered, and when they came back in. But now they are using her LinkedIn profile to prove that she was not in Canada for the time she said she was in Canada. So this wasn't about fraud that was proven in court that, oh, this lady committed fraud, therefore we want to revoke her citizenship. No, it was about reconstructing someone's life from 20 years ago. The lady had an explanation. She said she was in Canada during that period. And in that time, she had a baby in Canada. She even showed them the baby's Ontario birth certificate. She also explained that Nestle had a flexible maternity arrangement, that she was on maternity till her daughter turned 2 years. So if you look at maternity leave, pregnancy, birth, and daughter turning 2 years, 3 years would be complete in all of that. But the IROCC said if you say you were in Canada, even though your profile said you were not in Canada, you have to prove it. Show us record of your community engagement. What were you doing? Medical records, involvement in the community. If you were involved in religious activities, what were you doing in Canada? Just show us proof. But the judge was having none of that. It's not as if the judge said she was innocent or she did not do it. No, the judge said the delay was unfair. The judge's exact words. In short, the unfairness with which the applicant was treated, coupled with the unfairness in the proceedings caused by the delay, calls into question the integrity of the justice system if the court allows the proceedings to continue under these circumstances. The judge also had a problem with the IROCC demanding that Magdi should prove that she was in Canada during that period. Because according to the judge, Magdi should not be the one to prove that she was in Canada during the time she said she was. IROCC should be the one to prove that she lied in her application. So the judge final ruling was that the revocation proceeding should be permanently stayed. That means stop. Nobody should call this woman about this issue again. Nobody should try to revoke her citizenship again because it's unfair the delay that she encountered. Remember, in 2014, they did the investigation and they didn't reach out to the woman. You would see that the woman did not win the case because she was able to prove her case. It was just because of the whole delay. But the ROCC had a good explanation. They said, oh, this was a part of a bigger investigation. They were investigating up to 300 people, and this lady's name came up. So they said, yes, they needed that much time to do the investigation thoroughly. But the judge still did not buy that. Some of my takeaway from this case is how Canada works. We talk a lot about how Canada is not as soft as people think. Very true, it's not as soft as many people think. But it's still a blessing to know that we live in a country that the judiciary is independent and that investigation can happen, the government can do what they want to do, but courts do intervene when the state overreaches. Also, this case reminded me of the need to keep documents. Even when you become a citizen by naturalization, keep your documents. Records still matter. Becoming a citizen does not mean that your history has been wiped off. No, your history still needs to make sense. For those that came as permanent residents, remember your COPRO, confirmation of permanent residence. They will tell you this is a forever document. Whatever you do, you must never lose this document. You must have it forever because this document is your proof of PRO. When you want to do your pension or old age benefits, these documents will be called upon again. So make sure your documents are well kept. I know in the future, they might not need the hard copies. It might be soft copies. You can store them electronically so that whatever happens to the physical one, you still have the soft copy. Also, when it's time to apply for your citizenship, apply clean. Don't try to cut corners or try to be smart. If it's left with 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, stay your days so that when they call upon you in the future to defend yourself, you're able to defend yourself. And I'm not saying the lady is guilty or innocent of the allegations. And also just know this, when the government is investigating things about you, sometimes without your knowledge, your social media is an important place for them to get information about. Know what you post. This lady, it was just her employment timeline that they based their allegations on. But what if it was something more sinister? Some kind of antisocial things people post online. These days, some countries like the US are now asking for your social media handle when you're applying for visa. We keep hearing these things. So whatever we are posting on social media, even those keyboard warriors that like to comment and be mean in the comments, know what you are posting on social media because now your social media says a lot about you. employment wise, immigration wise, and who knows what else. And it doesn't mean that we'll go and hide under something and say, oh, I won't post anything, I won't post my picture, I won't post. No matter how careful you think you are, there's still something out there that can be dug at. In essence, be a good person, be a real person, be a decent human being. This lady, they went to look at her LinkedIn profile that people write fabulous things about. People forget to even update their LinkedIn profile sometimes. LinkedIn is where people want to look good for their employers or even future employers or even business partners. I was surprised that the government took evidence from LinkedIn as serious as that they were willing to go to court with this woman with that evidence. That tells you a lot about how the government sees our social media. She won. She didn't win because she was able to prove her case or because she was powerful. She won because the system crossed its own lines and the court stepped in. That's why I say it's a blessing to live in a country that the judiciary is independent and will tell you off no matter who you are. In Canada, rules matter and so does fairness. But don't confuse that with immunity. As much as we say Canada can be harsh, they can still be fair. The law is fair to everyone. If you're in Canada or you're interested in Canada, check out my other videos on Canadian immigration. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.